Every startup chases growth, right? But imagine hitting hyper-growth only to realize your internal systems are actually throttling your potential, creating, internal chaos instead of cohesion. It's the silent killer of many promising ventures. You're building this incredible car, but without all the parts seamlessly connected, well, you're not going anywhere fast or reliably. Today, we're diving into how some of the smartest startups are not just avoiding this trap, but turning their operational structure into their most formidable competitive edge. What if true agility doesn't come from moving fast and breaking things, but from building an unbreakable core?
That's exactly it. Our big goal for this deep dive is to figure out how startups can truly nail that operational harmony. By getting smart with what we call integrated management systems, or IMS, we're talking about weaving together all your core management threads, cutting out the messy overlaps, boosting efficiency, and staying totally compliant, even when you're running lean and fast. It's about combining various management disciplines around your core processes to create something, well, much more powerful than the sum of its parts. Okay, this brings us to a crucial point many startups grapple with. How do you implement this without getting bogged down in red tape? Because honestly, the immediate thought for many founders is more systems, more bureaucracy. But you're saying it's the opposite. It's about a smarter, more connected way to run your startup, drawing insights directly from some fantastic source material we have today, and building on everything we've explored about process fundamentals.
That's absolutely the core idea. At its heart, an integrated management system, or IMS, it's about bringing together traditionally siloed management disciplines.
Hmm.
Think about it. As a startup grows, you naturally start implementing different systems to solve specific problems.
Right.
You might set up a quality management system for your product, maybe a separate performance measurement system for your sales team, a framework to manage risk, or even standalone strategic planning tools. Each one just sort of pops up to address an immediate need.
And I can imagine for a startup where everyone's wearing multiple hats and just trying to keep pace, it feels like the natural path. The path of least resistance to just add these on as you go. But at what point does that natural path become a choke point?
It definitely does, and that's precisely where our source material highlights the problem.
Hmm.
It often leads to what's described as silos, redundancy, and sometimes conflicting approaches.
Hmm.
Imagine your engineering team focused on a quality metric, while the sales team is incentivized purely on volume, and compliance is, like an afterthought, handled by one person trying to catch up. They're all part of the same car, but they're not talking to each other. The beauty of IMS is it recognizes that these functions, quality, environmental, safety, compliance, performance, they're deeply interconnected. Instead of managing them in isolation, IMS combines them around your core business processes, creating a truly unified approach. It's like designing your car so that the engine, transmission, and braking system are all communicating and working in perfect sync rather than just, bolted together.
Okay, so if you're a startup trying to remain agile and move quickly, why isn't this just another layer of complexity? What makes IMS so crucial, especially for speed and growth?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the benefits directly address common startup killers and truly enable speed, not hinder it. Our sources highlight several key advantages. First, you get unparalleled focus and clarity. When everything's integrated, you have a single, unified view of your operations. No more guessing which team is responsible for which part of a problem or chasing conflicting priorities. Everyone sees the same map.
Right, clarity is huge.
Exactly.
Right.
Second, it drives massive resource efficiency. Think about it. When systems are siloed, you're constantly duplicating efforts. Information is re-entered, processes are repeated unnecessarily. IMS cuts out that waste, streamlining workflows and freeing up valuable time and people. It means you can do more with less, which is, well, critical for a lean startup.
Doing more with less, the startup mantra.
Pretty much. Third, it delivers enhanced effectiveness overall. Because everything is aligned and interconnected, your performance naturally improves across the board. Issues are spotted faster, decisions are better informed, and your entire organization moves with purpose rather than just, reacting to fires all the time.
Right.
It's like tuning all the individual components of your engine to work together for peak performance rather than hoping they just do their best independently.
Makes sense.
Fourth, and this is huge, for growth-focused companies, it provides a scalable foundation. This isn't just about solving today's problems, it's about building an operational infrastructure that can truly grow with your startup. You're embedding best practices into your DNA from the start, making future scaling much smoother and, frankly, less painful.
Avoiding those scaling pains, that's
Right.
a big one.
And finally, it significantly boosts your investor readiness. When you approach investors, an integrated system, it really professionalizes your operations. It shows you're not just a great idea, but a well-oiled machine capable of executing, managing risk, and achieving predictable results. That level of operational maturity makes you far more attractive to serious capital.
Those benefits sound like a startup's dream, really, turning potential chaos into a competitive advantage. But let's be real, the proof is in the pudding, right? Can you show us this harmony in action, maybe even a startup that stumbled before finding its rhythm with IMS?
Absolutely. Let's look at TechNX Solutions, a B2B SaaS company we've discussed before. They were bleeding customers, facing devastating customer churn. I mean, nearly half their customers were leaving every single year. Why? Terrible support. Their average response time was a painful 22 minutes, and service quality was just all over the place because their support, product, and knowledge management systems weren't talking to each other. Customers would ask a question, support reps would hunt for answers, product engineers were rarely involved. Just chaos.
Ouch. 22 minutes
Uh,
is an eternity in support.
It really is. So what do? Crucially, they went process first. This is key. They stepped back and redesigned their entire customer support process before implementing new technology. This involved integrating their support workflows with a centralized knowledge base, directly connecting it to product updates, and even weaving in automated responses for common queries. The result of this integration was staggering. An 89% reduction in response time from 22 minutes down to just 2.4 minutes.
Wow, 89%.
Yeah, and a 68% decrease in customer churn. That's process integration directly impacting the bottom line and customer loyalty. It transformed their car from sputtering to purring.
That's a fantastic turnaround.
Or consider the healthcare compliance integration case. This organization was just drowning in regulatory delays and rising compliance costs due to fragmented practices.
Yeah.
They reported that 43% of their clinical trials experienced regulatory delays, often due to documentation errors or disconnected approval processes. Compliance costs had spiraled, increasing 34% year over year. Their engine was constantly stalling due to these regulatory roadblocks.
Another common nightmare, especially in regulated industries.
Exactly. So what they did was embed compliance activities directly into their core research processes from the very beginning. Instead of compliance being this final, separate checklist item tacked on at the end, it became an integrated step within each research phase. Think automated checks, cross-functional sign-offs built right in. This holistic approach drastically improved outcomes. They reduced regulatory delays by 43%, audit findings by 27%, and compliance costs by 34% year over year. It proves how integrating something like a compliance management system into operational excellence drastically improves outcomes, making the regulatory roadblocks part of the actual driving path.
Those initial examples perfectly illustrate efficiency and compliance. But what if your startup's complexity extends beyond internal functions? Maybe across vast global supply chains. Does IMS still hold up in that kind of distributed environment?
Absolutely, and Global Freight Logistics offers a compelling story here. They weren't just battling customer service issues, they were wrestling with operations sprawled across North American and European markets. They had fragmented systems, lots of manual handoffs, and a dismal 77% on-time delivery rate. Imagine a global car with mismatched parts and different drivers trying to navigate different roads without a central map.
Yeah, coordination must have been a huge challenge.
Immense. So to tackle this, they integrated several methodologies. Lean principles to eliminate waste, Six Sigma for process precision and defect reduction, Agile for adaptive development cycles in their tech, and robust digital integration tools to connect their disparate software systems. This wasn't about picking just one silver bullet, but strategically layering them to build resilience and cohesion across continents. The results were astounding. On-time delivery improved from 77% all the way up to 97%.
From 77 to 97, that's huge.
Massive improvement. And their delivery cycle time was slashed by 70%, from 27 days down to just 8 days. This really proves how end-to-end process integration, even combining diverse methodologies, builds incredible resilience and capacity, even across complex global operations.
Okay, so the how, then, is absolutely crucial. How do you actually make these disparate systems connect around processes without building something so complex it just collapses under its own weight?
Right, that's the key question. The most effective way, especially for a startup, is what's called a process-based integration. It means consciously designing your processes to encompass multiple management disciplines right from the start, or, redesigning them that way. Think of it as engineering your car's chassis to seamlessly integrate the engine, suspension, and steering, rather than trying to force them together later. This involves 4 key steps, really.
Okay, what are they?
First, Mapping your key supporting processes. You need to visualize how your product goes from idea to customer, or how a customer issue gets resolved. Get it down visually. Second, clearly defining process boundaries and interfaces. This is critical. Where does one process end and another begin? How do they hand off information or tasks to each other? This eliminates finger pointing and ensures smooth transitions. Third, establishing clear process ownership and accountability for each integrated workflow. Someone needs to be the steward of that end-to-end process, not just a small piece of it. And fourth, creating a simple visual hierarchy of your processes so everyone understands the bigger picture, how their piece fits into the larger puzzle, how the wheel connects to the axle and the engine.
That ownership piece sounds particularly important.
It really is. And this also extends to measurement, which is vital for any growing company. You need to define end-to-end process metrics, not just siloed departmental ones. Create cross-functional performance indicators, implement simple process-level dashboards, keep them simple, and establish both leading and lagging indicators that connect directly to customer-focused metrics. For example, a leading indicator for customer satisfaction might be something like first contact resolution rate, while a lagging indicator is, say, customer churn. They're both important, but one tells you if you're on the right track now, and the other confirms the result later. Got it. Leading and lagging. And, while our focus today is on practical, agile integration for startups, it's worth noting that more mature integrated management systems often align with common international standards, like those from ISO. These aren't just for corporate behemoths. They provide structured frameworks that can guide organizations in systematically integrating their various management disciplines. For a startup, understanding something like ISO 9001 for quality, or maybe ISO 27001 for information security, isn't necessarily about getting certified overnight.
Right, not about the badge itself initially.
Exactly. It's more about leveraging a globally recognized blueprint for building robust, secure, and high-quality operations. It can actually be a huge competitive advantage when you're trying to land larger enterprise clients who often demand such assurances, or even when going through due diligence with investors who want to see that operational maturity. It demonstrates a commitment to excellence and a clear path for scalability without necessarily burdening you with rigid bureaucracy from day one.
Okay, this sounds incredibly powerful, but also potentially like something larger enterprises with dedicated teams would tackle. How does a lean startup with limited resources and often just a handful of people actually approach this without getting completely overwhelmed? This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
Absolutely. And this raises an important question. It's a very common one. Our sources emphasize that the most effective integration approach depends entirely on your startup stage and needs. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution, and it certainly doesn't mean building a massive complex system from day one. Please don't do that.
Okay, so what do you do?
For early-stage startups, the approach can and really should be founder-centered. This is about cultivating the habits of integration, the simplest possible integration. Think a shared visual board, maybe a Kanban board or a simple Trello board, showing key metrics, projects, and priorities that are reviewed in a weekly all-hands meeting. The goal here isn't some complex IT system, but to address your most pressing pain points with total transparency and shared understanding across the whole team. It's about establishing that transparent communication and shared understanding from day one, building that foundational muscle memory for integration that scales with you. It's your minimum viable process for integration.
MVP for integration. I like that.
Exactly. Then, as you grow and get beyond that initial stage, you move towards process-level integration. This is where you actually embed those compliance, quality, or risk elements directly into your redesigned core processes, like we saw with TechConnect Solutions. You're consciously building the integrated systems right into your workflows. Other practical techniques include leveraging digital integration platforms. These are tools, often low-code or no-code solutions, that link different software systems and automate data flow between them. They act like the central nervous system for your digital tools, ensuring your CRM talks to your accounting software, or your customer support platform feeds into your product analytics. Makes things much smoother.
So using tech smartly to connect the dots.
Precisely. And finally, maybe most importantly, fostering strong people and culture alignment is just non-negotiable. Your teams need to understand and embrace this integrated way of working. This means clear communication about why integration matters, providing the right training, maybe even aligning incentives to encourage cross-functional collaboration. It's about getting everyone on the same page, driving the car together, understanding how their part contributes to the whole journey.
That culture piece, often underestimated but so critical, that's a huge relief to hear about starting simple, because my big concern remains the B word, bureaucracy. How do you prevent this integration from just becoming another layer of rules and paperwork that slows everything down rather than speeding it up?
Yeah, it's a super common and valid fear, and it's where many companies, not just startups, go wrong. The most common mistake isn't doing IMS, it's creating too much complexity too soon. Like I said, imagine trying to build a Formula One race car when all you need is a dependable family sedan for now. The key is to start simple. Address your most pressing pain points first with the leanest possible integration, focusing on high-impact areas. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Keep it lean.
Exactly. This ties directly into that minimum viable process, MVP concept we've mentioned. Implement the simplest, most essential version of your integrated process first, then iterate. You build out complexity only as required by your growth and challenges. Remember, well-designed processes, even integrated ones, are enablers of speed, quality, and innovation. They're not meant to be bureaucratic overhead. They're the secret sauce for scalability. In fact, it's often poorly designed, disconnected processes that create the real bureaucracy and slow companies down. IMS, done right, is about removing that friction, making your startup inherently more agile and responsive.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, our listener? We've really delved into how integrated management systems can transform a startup's operations, moving beyond isolated functions to create true harmony, efficiency, and scalability. It's about being intentional with your processes from the start, building that robust operational core that can handle anything hypergrowth throws at it.
Couldn't agree more. This deep dive should hopefully provide you with a clearer roadmap to building that robust operational core, ensuring your startup isn't just fast, but fundamentally strong.
Now, here's your actionable takeaway from this deep dive today. Identify two disparate systems or sets of guidelines in your startup. Maybe it's your quality checks for product releases and your customer onboarding steps, or perhaps your sales process and your inventory management. Brainstorm how they could be integrated around a single core process. How could they feed into each other to create a more seamless experience or outcome for your customer or your team? Just think about one connection point.
And maybe a final provocative thought to leave you with. As you look to the future of your business, how can you shift your mindset? Move from merely fixing problems as they pop up firefighting to proactively designing processes that anticipate and even embrace the challenges of explosive growth. How do you build scalability in from the start so your systems become your biggest asset, not your biggest bottleneck?
Turning that potential chaos to your most powerful competitive advantage. Something to chew on.